My girlfriend and I were on a romantic trip in Italy. On the final days, she suddenly wanted to stay without me to find herself, despite the plan, so I cut off financially and left. We'd been planning this trip for 8 months. Sarah and I had been together for 3 years, and I saved up extra for my job at the warehouse to make it special. 2 weeks in Italy, Rome, Florence, Venice, the whole thing. She quit her job right before we left, saying she'd find something better when we got back. I didn't think much of it since I was covering most of the trip anyway. The first week was perfect. We ate pasta in tiny restaurants, took a million photos, walked around holding hands like we were in a movie. Sarah kept saying this was the best thing that ever happened to her, that I was the best thing that ever happened to her. Then we got to our Airbnb in Florence and something changed. She started spending hours on her phone, joining these Instagram groups about solo female travelers and finding yourself. She'd show me posts from women backpacking alone through Europe, talking about how freeing it was. I thought she was just scrolling, not planning anything. On day 10, we were supposed to leave for Venice, our last stop before flying home. I had the train tickets pulled up on my phone, bags packed, ready to go. Sarah sat on the bed and said we needed to talk. She told me she'd been doing a lot of thinking and she realized she needed to stay in Italy longer, alone, to find herself and figure out what she really wanted in life. I laughed at first because it sounded like something from a bad movie, but she was dead serious. She said she'd already messaged some girls from those travel groups who said she could stay with them in Rome for a few weeks, maybe longer. She wanted me to go home as planned, and she'd figure out her own way back when she was ready. I just stared at her. She didn't have a job, didn't have money saved. Our return flights were in 4 days. I asked her how she planned to pay for any of this, and she got quiet. Then she said she figured I could leave her some money and she'd pay me back eventually. That's when it clicked. She wanted me to fund her solo journey to find herself while I went home alone. I asked her how much money she thought she'd need. She said probably $2,000 or $3,000 should cover it, maybe more depending on how long she stayed. My hands were shaking. I'd already spent over $4 grand on this trip. Flights, hotels, food, everything. Now she wanted more money to extend her vacation without me because she needed to find herself? I stood up and started repacking my stuff. She asked what I was doing, and I told her I was doing exactly what she wanted, going home, alone. But I wasn't leaving her any money, not a single dollar. She immediately started backtracking, said she didn't mean it like that she just needed a little space to think. I told her she could have all the space she wanted, but she'd have to figure out how to pay for it herself. That's when she really panicked. Started saying she couldn't afford to stay without my help, that she'd have to come home too if I didn't leave her money. I shrugged and said, sounds like you're coming home then. She got angry, called me controlling and selfish for not supporting her journey of self-discovery, said a real partner would understand her needs. I looked at her and said a real partner wouldn't plan a secret extended vacation on someone else's credit card. I canceled the Venice portion, changed my flight to leave the next morning, and slept on the couch that night. Sarah cried and tried to convince me she wasn't using me, that this was about personal growth. But every argument she made just proved my point. She had no plan, no money, and expected me to pay for her to stay in Italy without me. The next morning, I took a cab to the airport, left her sitting in that Airbnb with 3 days left on the rental that I'd already paid for. She blew up my phone the entire flight home, first begging me to send money, then angry texts calling me every name in the book, then sad messages saying she'd made a mistake and wanted to come home. I blocked her number somewhere over the Atlantic. She made it back 2 days later. Her parents had to buy her a last-minute ticket that cost them over $1,000. She showed up at my apartment wanting to talk. I handed her a box with all her stuff and told her we were done. She tried to explain that she'd just gotten caught up in the romance of Italy and made a stupid mistake, but I realized something on that flight home. She didn't want to find herself. She wanted a free vacation away from me while keeping me as a backup plan. 3 years together and she was ready to throw it away for some Instagram fantasy she couldn't even afford. Last I heard, she's back working retail and still posts about wanting to go back to Italy someday. I went to Japan last month, paid for the whole trip myself. It was amazing.